Right now, Eskom has downgraded stage 6 power cuts to stage 5, as if that makes a difference. The power cuts will remain on stage 5 until tomorrow morning. The power utility will then give an update on further stages, but it says blackouts are implemented as a last resort due to the shortage of generation capacity and the need to attend to breakdowns. Right, no bailout for Eskom. Treasury says it won't approve an ad hoc allocation to Eskom to buy diesel. The power utility had asked for more than 19.5 billion rand to buy diesel to fuel auxiliary power plants. Let's discuss this impact now. We're joined by energy analyst Hartmut Winkler from the University of Johannesburg. Prof, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. Just firstly, the fact that Koeberg, a unit at Koeberg, was supposed to be switched off for maintenance reasons, etc., and they've had to now postpone that to tomorrow. Do you see this even happening with the power grid still looking so weak?
Well, sooner or later, they are going to have to do this job at Koeberg. If they don't, then it just simply means that they might miss a deadline of 2024 when they need to install new steam generators in the Koeberg units. They already tried to do the other. Koeberg's got 2 units, so the other unit, they already wanted to do that job earlier this year, and they didn't manage, which is quite a problem. But at that stage, there is still another year to do it. So sooner or later, it will have to be done. And if you're not going to do it now, then when? Because next year we're going to have a winter season, and that's when the demand peaks. So that's really not when you would want it to do. So the plan that Eskom had was to start this Koeberg job now and get it finished by June next year. Then they could work with a fully operational Koeberg for a couple of months until they then do the other unit. So delaying that is, yes, I can see why there's a lot of pressure on them to do that, but you just simply cannot just postpone this forever.
So this means then that the problem that we're facing now and Koeberg Unit 1 not being able to be switched off for maintenance reasons could mean another, a period of stage 5 and 6 in June next year?
Yes,
or in winter
quite
in general?
Even worse, because yes, because unfortunately, in order for us to get to a lower or to eliminate load shedding altogether, we just need new capacity. Because the problems why all these things are happening is because, especially the coal power plants, which South Africa's electricity largely depends on, are just breaking down far too often than they should be. About half of them are not working right now. And I don't see that situation getting any better. The only thing which can help us is if we end up getting a whole lot of new power stations set up. But the quickest you can do that is, well, you can't do it in less than about 2 years. And that would mean that you would have to start now and plan for a whole lot of solar and wind plants, because those are the only ones that those typically take 2 years or so to build. Anything else, well, coal plants, I think, are out of the question now because they won't get financed anymore due to global carbon emissions. And nuclear is also just, it's expensive, and it will take a good 10 years before you set something up. So right now, that's almost the only thing you can do. You could try for gas as well, but the problem is gas at the moment is highly expensive. And its price fluctuates. So it's not something that anybody wants to rely on, as a lot of countries in Europe have found out. So I'm afraid that in the short term, we are going to be sitting with a situation where load shedding are going to be a regular feature. Not saying it's going to happen non-stop, but we are going to have, we might have weeks or even when there's no load shedding, but there are going to be times when there's going to be so much pressure on the grid that we're going to be going to stage 6, and it could even get worse. It's unfortunately, nobody can predict when things are going to break.
Yeah, and I mean, they do explain that it's quite important to do the maintenance on Koeberg, because they explain that because it's a nuclear power station, it works differently to all our coal power stations. The breakdowns there are less often. They say something about reactor vessels, as opposed to having to refuel yourself physically at that particular power station. So I'm assuming it's very important that they actually do the maintenance there so that we have it back online?
Yes, well, they need to do the refueling anyway as well. Because they put in essentially the material which burns, the uranium-based material which burns. So that happens regularly, but that doesn't take 6 months. That's usually something of the order of 3 months, and that's been happening right throughout Kuberg's life. So what they want to do now, and it of course makes sense, is to use a time when they're down anyway, because of the steam generator upgrades, to do the refueling at the same time as well. As I mentioned earlier this year, they tried that with the other unit, and they didn't manage to get the steam generators up and going for reasons that are not entirely clear to me yet. But I think that's a lot of things that happened this year, Eskom can be excused for, but that one is a bit of a difficult one for them to explain. And I just hope they learn from whatever mistakes they made earlier this year and get it right this time.
Yeah, I think we all hope that they're learning from their mistakes, because really to be put on stage 6 load shedding in December, when South Africa is supposed to be booming with tourists and everything, is quite embarrassing, to say the least. But also, Mr. Winkler, in terms of the fact that Treasury has said no to their application for a bailout in terms of money to get more diesel, they've been saying that they've used a lot more diesel than normal this year. And there was a time when PetroSA had said that they gave them diesel, but that diesel had to go back because there were issues that government raised in terms of that particular donation, if I can call it that. What do you think about the fact that Treasury is saying no to their application to get more diesel? Because it seems as though diesel for now is the only option for us to actually have power.
Yes, I think unlike most other people, I can actually understand why government is doing that, because they just cannot just forever throw money at Eskom. They had this amount of money to cover diesel, but the diesel is supposed to be for emergencies. The electricity we get from the gas plants is probably the most expensive there is, because of the diesel and other costs. And so these are only for situation when there's a real emergency. They're not supposed to be running the whole time to get stage 2 down to stage 1 and that sort of thing. They kick in when you're facing a problem, because it's so expensive. Yes, sure, you can run them almost non-stop, but that, again, is not good for anything, to run anything non-stop. And it's just so expensive, and we can see what happened. They used up what they thought they were going to need in 6 months. And this is also a year, unfortunately, where the price of petrol and with the diesel has just shot up. And it's just really not a good time to do that. So we have two choices, essentially. Yes, sure, if they were to run these diesel plants, we wouldn't be on stage 5 now. We'd probably be more on stage 3 or 2. But at the same time, where's that money going to come from? And it's going to be taken off some other budget.
Yeah, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, aren't we? So lastly, do you believe really that, load shedding is being treated as an emergency?
Yes and no. I think everybody would love to get this sorted out, including the people in government. But at the same time, I see a situation where this is also being used as, instead of a crisis issue where everybody pulls together, it seems to be used as a point-scoring mechanism between different political parties, between factions within certain parties, between various interest groups, and so on. And yes, it's not being handled the way I think it should be. What the country needs is we've had an electricity plan now, which was passed 3 years ago, and wasn't developed 3 years ago. It was developed a year or so earlier. Given that the fast changes in the electricity space, this plan should be updated every 2 years. This hasn't happened. And even though the minister said, yes, they're now busy with some sort of an updated plan, which will then first needs to be sent for consultation and so on. In essence, we won't be seeing another plan until sometime the middle of next year. And then by the time it's passed, it's going to be the end of next year, which is essentially something that should have happened. Not even now, it should have happened earlier than that. So and even if we go to the existing plan the government has had, they're running late with things. Yesterday, we had
Exactly.
the announcement that of a whole lot of new solar plants that are going to be built. But those were actually planned to, according to the government plans, that announcement should have happened, and the whole process should have happened a lot earlier as well. So they're running late with that. And for some reason, which I don't quite understand, they didn't actually allocate wind plants. There was supposed to be quite an allocation there. And also, we're talking of the solar plants that were allocated yesterday, which are only going to be finished in about 2.5 years' time. That amounts to, well, it sounds like it's about 1,000 megawatts, but because solar is only effective during the day when the sun is shining, it actually amounts to not even half a stage of load shedding. So it's not a big difference. They just need to do much, much more than that if they're going to even just keep up with the aging of the coal plants. And
well,
so we need some sort of it's almost some national indaba or something, and basically just, we need to treat the electricity the way we treated COVID.
Yeah.
And to say, look, we cannot go on the way we have been doing. We just need something now dramatically different.